Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome all to today's reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 6, verse 48. We will be continuing our reading from Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamham Bande Shri Gurum Deen Tarinam Paramananda Madhvam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat. Verse 48. Namo Narayan Bali Namaskar Kaila Krishna Matir Astu Bali Gosani Kaila. Offering his obeisances to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya said, Namo Narayan, I offer my obeisances to Narayan. Purport. In return, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Krishna Matir Astu, let your attention be on Krishna. It is the etiquette among sannyasis, those on the fourth platform of spiritual life, to offer respects by saying Om Namo Narayan. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Narayan. This greeting is used especially by Mayavadi sannyasis. According to the Smriti scriptures, a sannyasi should not expect anything from anyone, nor should he consider himself identical with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vaishnava sannyasis never think of themselves as being one with the Lord. They always consider themselves eternal servants of Krishna, and they want to see everyone in the world become Krishna conscious. For this reason, a Vaishnava sannyasi always offers his blessings to everyone, saying, Krishna Matir Astu, may you become Krishna conscious. Verse 49. Shuni Sārvabhauma mane vichar karila, Vaishnav sannyasi inho vachane janela. Hearing these words, Sārvabhauma understood Lord Chaitanya to be a Vaishnava sannyasi. Verse 50. Gopinath Acharyere kahe Sārvabhauma, Gosanir janite chahi kaha purvashram. Sārvabhauma then said to Gopinath Acharya, I want to know Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's previous situation. The word purvashram refers to one's previous situation in life. Sometimes a person will accept the renounced order from householder life, and sometimes even from student, which is brahmachari life. Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya wanted to know of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's previous situation as a householder. Verse 51. Gopinath Acharya kahe Navadvipe ghara, Jagannath naam padvi Mishra Purandara. Gopinath Acharya replied, there was a man named Jagannath who was a president of Navadvip and whose surname was Mishra Purandar. Verse 52. Vishwambhar naam inhar tanra inho putra nilambara chakravartira haina dhohitra. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the son of that Jagannath Mishra, and his former name was Vishwambhar Mishra. He happens to be the grandson of Nilambar Chakravarti. Verse 53. Sārvabhauma kahe Nilambar Chakravarti Visharder samadhai etanra khyati. The Bhaṭṭācārya said, Nilambar Chakravarti was a classmate of my father Maheshwar Visharad. I knew him as such. Verse 54. Mishra Purandar Tanra Manya Hena Jani Pitar Sambandhe Donha ke Pujya Kari Mani. Jagannath Mishra Purandar was respected by my father. Thus, because of the relationship with my father, I respect both Jagannath Mishra and Nilambar Chakravarti. Verse 55. Nadiya Sambandhe Sārvabhauma Risht Haila Prita Hena Gosanire Kahite Lagila. Hearing that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu belonged to the Nadia district, Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya became very pleased and addressed the Lord as follows. Verse 56. Sahajay Pujya Tumi Ar Ta Sannyas Ataiva Han Tumhar Ami Nijadas. You are naturally respectable. Besides, you are a sannyasi. Thus, I wish to become your personal servant. Purport. By His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, a sannyasi is always to be worshipped and offered all kinds of respects by the grihasthas Although Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya was older than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sārvabhauma respected him as a sannyasi and as one who had attained the topmost platform of spiritual ecstasy. Thus, the Bhaṭṭācārya certainly accepted him as his master. Verse 57. Shuni Mahaprabhu Kaila Shri Vishnu Smarana Bhaṭṭācārya Kahe Kichu Vinay Vachana. As soon as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this from the Bhaṭṭācārya, he immediately remembered Lord Vishnu and began to speak humbly to him as follows. Verse 58. Tumi Jagat Guru Sarvalok Hit Karta Vedanta Padao Sannyasira Upkarta. Because you are a teacher of Vedanta philosophy, you are the master of all the people in the world and their well-wisher as well. You are also the benefactor of all kinds of sannyasis. Because the Mayavadi sannyasis teach Vedanta philosophy to their students or disciples, they are customarily called Jagat Guru. This indicates that they are the benefactors of all people. Although Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya was not a sannyasi but a householder, he used to invite all the sannyasis to his home and offer them prasadam. Thus he was accepted as a well-wisher and friend of all the sannyasis. Verse 59. Ami balak sannyasi bhand mand nahi jani, tomar ashray nilun guru karimani. I am a young sannyasi and I actually have no knowledge of what is good and what is bad. Therefore, I am taking shelter of you and accepting you as my spiritual master. Verse 60. Tomar sang lagi mor ihan agamana, sarv prakare karibe amay palana. I have come here only to associate with you and I am now taking shelter of you. Will you kindly maintain me in all respects? Verse 61. Aji ye haila amar badai vipati tahat haite kaile tumi amar avyahati. The incident that happened today was a great obstacle for me, but you have kindly relieved me of it. Verse 62. Bhaṭṭācārya kahe ekale tumi na yahe darshane amar sange yabe kimva amar lok Sane. The Bhaṭṭācārya replied, do not go alone to see the deity at the Jagannath temple. It is better that you go with me or my men. Verse 63. Prabhu kahe mandira bhitare na yaiba, garudera pache rahi darshan kariba. The Lord said, I shall never enter the temple, but shall always view the Lord from the side of the Garud Stambha. Verse 64. Gopinath Acharya ke kahe Sārvabhauma tumi kosanire lena karaiha darshana. Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya then told Gopinath Acharya, take Goswamiji and show him Lord Jagannath. Verse 65. Amar matri swasa grihya nirjana sthana tahan vasa deha kara sarva samadhan. Also, the apartment belonging to my maternal aunt is in a very solitary place. Make all arrangements for him to stay there. Verse 66. Gopinath Prabhu lena tahan vasadila jala patradika sarva samadhan kaila. Thus Gopinath Acharya took Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his residential quarters and showed him where to find water, tubs and water pots. Indeed, he arranged everything. Verse number 67. Ardin Gopinath Prabhu sthane giyas shayothan darshana karaila lena. The next day, Gopinath Acharya took Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to see the early rising of Lord Jagannath. Verse 68. Mukunda datta lena aila Sārvabhauma sthane Sārvabhauma kichu tanre balila vachane. Gopinath Acharya then took Mukunda datta with him and went to Sārvabhauma's house. When they arrived, Sārvabhauma addressed Mukunda datta as follows. Verse 69. Prakriti vinita sannyasi देखिते सुंदर Amar Bahu Priti Bade Inhar Upara. The sannyasi is very meek and humble by nature, and his person is very beautiful to see. Consequently, my affection for him increases. Purport Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya considered Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu a very humble and meek person because although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a sannyasi, he still retained his brahmachari name. The Lord took sannyas from Keshav Bharati in the Bharati Sampradaya, in which the brahmacharis, the assistants of the sannyasis, are named Chaitanya. Even after accepting sannyas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu retained the name Chaitanya, meaning the humble servant of sannyasis. Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya appreciated this very much. Verse 70. Kon sampradaya sannyasa karyachena grahana kiba nam inhar shunite hayamana. From which sampradaya has he accepted the sannyas order, and what is his name? Verse 71. Gopinath kahe naam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Guru Inhar Keshav Bharati Mahadhanya. Gopinath Acharya replied, the Lord's name is Shri Krishna Chaitanya, and his sannyas preceptor is the greatly fortunate Keshav Bharati. Verse 72. Sārvabhauma kahe inhar naam Sārvabhauma Bharati Sampradaya inho haina madhyama. Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya says Shri Krishna is a very good name, but he belongs to the Bharati community. Therefore, he is a second-class sannyasi. Verse 73. Gopinath kahe inhar nahi bahya apeksha atev bada sampradaya nahika apeksha. Gopinath Acharya replied, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not rely on any external formality. There is no need for him to accept the sannyas order from a superior sampradaya. Purport: Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted sannyas from the Bharati Sampradaya, or the community which belongs to the disciplic succession of Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya introduced names for his sannyas disciples, and these are 10 in number. Out of these, the surnames Tirth, Ashram and Saraswati are considered topmost. In the monastery of Sringeri, the surname Saraswati is considered first class, Bharati second class, and Puri third class. A sannyasi who has very nicely understood the slogan Tattvam Asi and who takes his bath at the confluence of the rivers Ganges, Yamuna and Saraswati is called a Tirth. A person who is very eager to accept sannyas, who is detached from worldly activities, who has no desire for any kind of material activities, and who is thus saved from repeated birth and death is known as ashrama. When a sannyasi lives in a beautiful solitary place in the forest and is freed from all material desires, he is called vana. A sannyasi who always lives in the forest and renounces all connection with the world in order to be elevated to the heavenly planets where he can live in the Nandan Kanan is called Aranya. One who prefers living in the mountains, engaging in the study of the Bhagavad-Gita and whose intelligence is fixed is called Giri. One who prefers living in great mountains, even among ferocious animals, to attain the summit of philosophical speculation, understanding that the essence of this material world is useless, is called Parvat. A sannyasi who has dipped into the ocean of the absolute truth and collected some valuable stones of knowledge from that ocean, who never falls from the regulative principles of a sannyasi, is called Sagar. One who has learned the classical art of music, who engages in its culture and who has become expert and completely aloof from the material attachment is called Saraswati. Saraswati is the goddess of music and learning, and in one hand she holds a musical instrument called a veena. A sannyasi who is always engaged in music for spiritual elevation is called Saraswati. One who has become completely educated and is freed from all kinds of ignorance and who is never unhappy even in distressed condition is called Bharati. One who has become very expert in the absolute knowledge, who is situated in the absolute truth and who always discusses the absolute truth is called Puri. All these sannyasis are assisted by brahmacharis who are described as follows. One who knows his real identity and is fixed in his particular occupational duty, who is always happy in spiritual understanding, is called Swarup Brahmachari. One who completely knows the Brahman effulgence and is always engaged in the practice of yoga is called Prakash Brahmachari. One who has acquired absolute knowledge and who always meditates on the absolute truth, knowledge, the unlimited and the Brahman effulgence, thus keeping himself in the transcendental bliss, is called Anand Brahmachari. One who is able to distinguish between matter and spirit, who is never disturbed by material transformations, and who meditates on the unlimited, inexhaustible, auspicious Brahman effulgence, is a first-class learned Brahmachari and is named Chaitanya. When Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya was talking with Gopinathacharya about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's sannyas community, he appreciated the first name Sri Krishna but did not like the surname Chaitanya, which is the name for the brahmachari belonging to the Bharati community. He therefore suggested that the Lord be elevated to the Saraswati community. However, Gopinath Acharya pointed out that the Lord does not depend on any external formality. Gopinath Acharya was firmly convinced that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Krishna himself and therefore independent of any external ritual or formality. If one wants to engage in pure devotional service, he does not require titular superiority as a Bharati or Saraswati. Verse 74. Bhaṭṭācārya kahe inhar praudha yavana kevate sannyas dharma haibe rakshana. The Bhaṭṭācārya inquired, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in his full-fleshed youthful life. How can he keep the principles of sannyas? Verse 75. Nirantar inhake vedanta shunaiva vairagya advaita marge pravesh karaiva. I shall continually recite Vedanta philosophy before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu so that he may remain fixed in his renunciation and thus enter upon the path of monism. Purport. According to Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya, among sannyasis, the cultivation of Vedanta philosophy helps in becoming detached from sense gratification. Thus, a sannyasi can protect the prestige of wearing a loincloth kaupin. One has to practice sense control as well as mind control and subdue the 6 forces of speech, mind, anger, tongue, belly and genitals. Then one can become expert in understanding the devotional service of the Lord and thus become a perfect sannyasi. For that purpose, one must cultivate knowledge and renunciation regularly. When one is attached to material sense gratification, he cannot protect his sannyas order. Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya suggested that by the study of the vairagya, which is renunciation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu might be saved from the clutches of full-fledged youthful desires. Verse 76. Kahena yadi punarapi yoga patta diya samskar karye uttam sampradaya aniya. Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya then suggested if Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would like, I could bring him into a first-class sampradaya by offering him saffron cloth and performing the reformatory process again. Purport. The Bhaṭṭācārya wanted to reinstate Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu into the Saraswati Sampradaya because he did not like the lords belonging to the Bharati Sampradaya or Puri Sampradaya. Actually, he did not know the position of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not depend on an inferior or superior sampradaya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead remains in the supreme position in all circumstances. Verse 77. Shuni Gopinath Mukund Dunhe Dukhi Haila Gopinathacārya Kichu Kahite Lagila. Gopinath Acharya and Mukund Datta became very unhappy when they heard this. Gopinath Acharya therefore addressed Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya as follows. Verse 78. Bhaṭṭācārya tumi inhar na jaan mahima Bhagavat lakshanera inhate sima. My dear Bhaṭṭācārya, you do not know the greatness of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All the symptoms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are found in him. to the highest degree. Purport: since the Bhaṭṭācārya was an impersonalist, he had no idea of the absolute truth beyond the impersonal effulgence. However, Gopinath Acharya informed him that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a supreme personality of Godhead. Those who know this absolute truth know it in three phases as explained in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.11. Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yaj jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagwan iti shabdayate. Those who are in knowledge of the non-dual absolute truth know very clearly that what is Brahman, what is Paramatma, and what is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Shad Aishwarya Purna, complete with 6 opulences. Gopinath Acharya emphasized that those 6 opulences were completely existing in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Verse 79. Tahate vikhyat inho param ishwara ajna sthane kichu nahe vijnera gochara. Gopinath Acharya continued, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is celebrated as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those who are ignorant in this connection find the conclusion of knowledgeable men very difficult to understand. Verse 80. Shishya Gana kahe Ishwar kaha kaun pramane, Acharya kahe vigyan mata Ishwara lakshane. The disciples of Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya retaliated, by what evidence do you conclude that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord? Purport: Gopinath Acharya replied, the statements of authorized acharyas who understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead are proof. Since the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there have been many pseudo-incarnations in India. Those who do not present authorized evidence, 500 years ago, the disciples of Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya, being very learned scholars, were certainly right in asking Gopinath Acharya for evidence. If a person proposes that he himself is God or that someone else is an incarnation of God or God himself, he must cite evidence from Shastra to prove his claim. Thus, the request of the Bhaṭṭācārya's disciples is quite bona fide. Unfortunately, at the present moment, it has become fashionable to present someone as an incarnation of God without referring to the Shastras. Before an intelligent person accepts someone as an incarnation of God, however, he must ask about the evidence. When the disciples of Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya challenged Gopinath Acharya, he immediately replied correctly, we must hear the statements of great personalities in order to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Krishna is established as a Supreme Personality of Godhead by statements from many authorized persons such as Brahma, Narad, Vyasadeva, Asit and Arjun. Similarly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also established as a Supreme Personality of Godhead by evidence from the same personalities. This will be explained later. So we'll continue our reading from verse 81 of chapter 6 of Madhya Lila next time. Thank you for joining. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.